Greetings, my beloved divine child. I am Solarys of Akeneic Service. Come into this place today as quite a surprise to some. You were expecting another energy, weren't you? You were expecting another being to come in because you like to classify these things. You like to give this energy of totality, which you would call ascension, names and identities. You even give me a name as I come into this place and as I speak about things that have always been known and that have always been buried deep within yourself. Names are not important. Places are not important, because if you are truly in the heart of all things, then you know that where you sit is everywhere. That where you are is every place. You exist within the center of all things, and you do not know yet, my beloved one, what that means. You do not know what it means to be in a place that is all places at once. Because here you sit in these bodies, and I know that you are working with it. I know that you are trying to come out of it, and you are. And you will succeed in this, I know. But what to me is a practical concept is to you oftentimes theory. Some of you here today were talking about the carpet in this room and how the carpet does not fit their eyes. Then my question to you would be, change the carpet, why don't you? Why would you talk about things that are while you are the things that are at all times? Today I bring you another type of message than I usually bring. Let's call it an interim message. Because before Ekara can begin his series about life in Lemuria, I need to speak first. What I need to speak about is a fairly simple concept. Just one word, it is. And it was already introduced today by that being that you would name Kutumi, as he came pouring out of you. And the word, my beloved child, is innocence. I need to speak of innocence. For of all the things that we have spoken about before, all the things that we have discussed in other voices, in other names, one thing has shifted so tremendously that it does not mean what it once meant. Innocence. You have forgotten the true power of innocence. You have forgotten the true, authentic meaning of the word and the concept behind the word. It is logical that you would have almost nowhere on earth today does the concept of innocence still exist. Oh, it is kept alive in the dreams of children. It is kept alive in the very heartbeat of a new lover. But very soon it becomes corrupted. Very soon it becomes something different entirely. And it is my honored task today to bring back this concept to planet Earth and to burn it evermore on your Akene. You are currently in a seminar that is talking about Eya Ichika, that is talking about stepping into infinity. Well, I'll give you the key to infinity. And it's not the elements, it's not geometry, it's not magnetics. It is, again, innocence. An innocent being has no past, no future. And it barely has a now. And now you could ask, how could that be, Solarys? For years now, decades, you've talked about now in all types of voices. And now you're saying that there barely is a now? Yes, human. Yes, blessed soul. You have no idea of the things that you have done on this planet Earth, and I'm talking to thousands and thousands of people who will hear, read, feel this. You have no idea what you have done. As was spoken earlier today, some voices through which I speak were unable to speak again, such as Akene, the one that you call by that name, and yet he is getting ready to come in very shortly. How could this be? The answer is simple. You have stepped beyond the paradigm of your own making. I'll explain this a little bit further. At one point, the earth and all of creation that you today call creation stepped beyond the old paradigm, this you know, and you stepped into the new age, and you stepped into a new type of power, and you stepped into a place of power where you were creating your reality as you were experiencing your reality. And that was called the second wave of empowerment. That was called, even by some, the third wave of empowerment, but the third wave, my beloved child, was nothing more than the bridge into infinity, into divinity, into oneness. And I am here to say that just a couple of hours ago, if you have to think linear, all of humanity left the bridge of the third wave. It is why you couldn't sleep at night in some cases. It is why old memories came up. It is why so many are walking into existing bodies today, because the time is right. You have left the bridge of the third age, and it was a bridge of your creation. And yes, I am using the words third age, because that is what humanity has now grown out of. You haven't become adults, however, God forbid that you would. Because then you would start seeking jobs, and start paying your rent, and start paying the lease on your cars. Those things are actually very shortly going to be part of a past. And as you are going to see things anew in every single moment, very shortly the suffering and the needless, meaningless suffering for most will be forgotten. Some would have difficulty with this concept. They are actually quite attached to the past and to the way reality has presented itself to you before. And even the best and the brightest of those who would sit among you, those who would have every chance for success, sometimes get stuck within their longing for the way things were. That is what the mind does. It makes you dependent on what it knows, even if what it knows is a world of pain and suffering and hardship. So, there have been some in the last few days and in the last few weeks, and you have also felt this, even if it happened on other sides of the planet. There have been some of your very close family, your soul family, the ones who would come in and make the change, that have stepped aside. Not because they couldn't do it in the end, not because they didn't have the power to do it in the end, but because they wanted to stay behind. Oh, don't think I am speaking negative of these, your family. Don't think I am trying to put them down. I am honoring them right here and right now. That's what I'm doing. Honoring them, Solarys. Why would you? Very simple. Even though you left the bridge and you are now completely on your way to infinity, those who are leaving you, who are remaining behind, keep the door open. Ikara talked about this door a very long time ago. In fact, that he was already on the other side of the door, waiting for you to step into a world that lies beyond, or actually precedes, vibration and frequency and memory and magnetics and geometry and all of those concepts that you have worked with before. But somebody has to keep the door open. Somebody has to be the light worker, as you would call it, that is shining the light, that is being the beacon for those that will come after you. And so it is that, in essence, a group of 12 have chosen to do this on Earth, and their task should be honored, and their tasks should be celebrated. And you should not forget them. You should not separate from them, because if you are going to do that, you are just repeating mental energy like was the case in Atlantis. And you don't want to do that, believe me. So 12 are left behind as the gatekeepers. And of course I am talking about 12 energies, 12 distinct vibrational states of being. I'm not talking about 12 people. I'm talking about much more than 12 people, but all of those 12 vibrational states would have their own soul creations here on this planet Earth, and that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about thousands. It's not really a sacrifice, it is just a delay, but you should honor the delay, because they allowed you to step forward, still connected, however, still connected by, let's call it, an energy rope, so that you wouldn't get lost into this infinite space and you would never be found again, while all of humanity is preparing to make the same steps. That is what is going on right now. That is why, for the last time, the mind energy, the external mental energy that is vibration, that doesn't belong to you, but is put upon you by those who seek to have power over you, literally attacked. In some cases, it happened quite unnoticed. In others, it was very clear that it happened. With those, it was very clear. It's very easy. It is over and done. With those of you listening right now, wherever you are, that didn't quite feel it, and that would say, what is Solarys talking about? I'm doing fine. I can tell you this. Watch out. for the small incidents. Because in your case, the mental energy that created one last attack couldn't really get to the surface of your thought patterns, but buried a little gift. That's how you should see it, deep into your subconscious. And it is coming up. It will come up in the coming days, and maybe even longer than that. But it's also there for a reason. Why would some go through this moment immediately, and why would some delay it? It's very clear. You should never forget this. Imzaia, light worker, Shambra. You should never forget this. You are all the teacher. Always. And each of you have taken upon you different types of teaching. It's not because you now stepped off the platform, stepped off the edge, that you're no longer going to interact with the human race as the others are keeping the door open. No, you are going to interact more intensely than ever before. The state of hibernation, as you know, is now over. And the state of interaction is now beginning. So each of you have chosen different experiences as you interacted with mind for one last time, so you could teach others. You could talk about it to others, each in your own way, knowing, feeling that you would meet those that are of likewise energy. And in some cases, you have already met them and you don't know it yet, and you've had trouble before and you don't know it yet, and you think in yourself, why does this keep happening to me? 2008 should be a year of prosperity, and still I'm running into walls. Why? Well, the walls are those that you are going to teach now. The walls are always human. And sometimes you'll notice that you'll have to teach yourself. And that's going to be interesting. Talk about schizophrenia. You're going to have to teach yourself in some cases, but you will be ready to do so. So as you stepped off the edge, and as you stepped through the door that Akara has basically created for you a while ago, and that he held open because he is a guide for you in that respect, you have now stepped. And as you did, you wanted to do so consciously. That is why there was little sleep. That is why there will be more little sleep. That is why in the end there will be no sleep, but there won't be insomnia, no. There will be innocence. So now that the introduction of today is over and you know why I came in and what has happened to you on a physical level, let's start talking about energy. What is innocence, really? You think, on this earth at least, that innocence has to do with knowing little. Those who know nothing are innocent. Those who have not yet a memory and have not yet had to make the choices of compromise that you do as a human being, you would call innocent. It's not innocence. It's not real innocence, at least. It is mental innocence, maybe, but that's not the real innocence that we're going to be talking about today. This is one of those words, beloved child, that you cannot get the true meaning of if you are not ready. I am telling you that innocence is the opposite of illusion. Do you understand? Do you see how this works? Innocence could be called many things. It could be called purity. It could be called neutrality. And many different types of words, but all of them together create this platform called innocence. Why, Solarys, are you repeating this word so many times? Because I want to give it to you. I want you to own it. I want you to make it real. Because that is what it is all about, isn't it? Oh, we're going to talk for the next half hour or so about this word and you will understand its meaning. We're not going to talk about bending light this time. We'll do that another time. In a couple of days, perhaps. But first, you need to grasp this concept. Because everything that I have told you so far in the previous messages can only come into fruition, can only find fertile ground in an innocent being. The earth lost its innocence when things became less fluid. The earth lost its innocence, or rather, the human being did, when they separated themselves from each other and they created the body. And as such, innocence was kept for you by Gaia herself, burning deep within her core. You think maybe that innocence is a place of stillness, and you would be right. But you don't know about a place of stillness. You don't really know a place of stillness. You don't understand the creative power that comes with a place of stillness. Do you want a place of stillness right here on this earth, or an object of stillness right here on this earth? I'll give you one. It's not all over the earth these days. It used to be, but I'll give you one. It's called lava. Lava does not yet carry a vibration. And then go and think about the center of this earth itself. If this earth and Gaia is a being, then the center of that being would nonetheless be the Akene of that being, correct? So that would mean that the center of the earth, which is lava, which is molten liquid fire, light, is Gaia's Akene. And you should know that no two Akenes can be dissimilar, because there's only one. So that means that the fire, the lava, the pure creative power that is burning deep within the center of this earth is also burning deep within you. And this physical attribute of stillness preceding all vibration lives within you. It is called innocence because it is still, because it hasn't been touched, because it is still pure, and it can still go either way. Now, innocence can stay innocent, or it can become illusion. As I told you that the opposite of innocence was illusion. When does that happen? It happens when an external force again comes in and disrupts the stillness. And this is what your previous incarnations, my beloved ones. And even to an extent, you yourself. But there's no judgment. And especially most of society today is doing to planet Earth. You could ask yourself the question, if there is enough land on this Earth, and if the Earth is indeed part of the creative ability that you carry within you, then why would the Earth continuously create new land? Why would that be necessary? The Earth is obviously trying to heal herself, because the land that she has provided to you as her innocence blended together and formed soil and land hasn't been treated properly, has it? Humanity, mental humanity, or as someone has called it before, mindkind, has in fact created great disruptions here on this planet. But no more. No more. Oh, things might be planned. Things might be ahead. And they are. Things that are not really in the best interest of all people, actually only in the best interest of a very small group of people. And yet I see innocence emerging once again, for if it couldn't, I would not have a voice. I wouldn't. Oh, blessed child. I told you at one point that I would never be able to open up these eyes of the channel as we are communicating this. And as you might be noticing, more and more this is happening. Because what you are projecting is becoming more and more true every single day. And at one point, I am sure that we will look each other into the eye. Into the eye. And that is when we will create together again the Am of Earth itself. That is when we will reclaim the recreational and the creational and the substantial power that Earth is. And Earth is indeed not only a field of creation, but only of recreation as well. Did you understand what I said? This field of experience is supposed to be enjoyable. And what you have turned it into is anything but enjoyable in most cases. It is a prison. Again, I honor you for having the courage to step off the platform while still being in the human body. Because I know, although I have never incarnated myself, I couldn't. Because I know it is difficult to find the courage. And every single day I find myself within your center more and more. Oh, how I long for the day that I won't have to speak through an external voice, but I can just speak on the inside of you. That is the day that we shall celebrate together. So, as I said at the beginning of this message, and I want to say this before I return to the concept of innocence, you have stepped from an old paradigm into a new paradigm that you have called a free paradigm, and now you have stepped into something that I cannot give a name. Because giving it a name would destroy it. The closest I can come to naming anything was done today already by another voice, Kuthumi, when he spoke about akenergy. Because that is in the moment. And akenergy, again, like with the other thing that I said, is barely in the moment. Now, how can something be barely in the moment if the moment is all there is? Good question. Coming from someone in Africa. How can that be? How can something be barely in the moment? I'm going to explain to you. The now is eventually going to disappear because it is still definition. The now that you have seen as the end result of all your effort to be in the now, I'm telling you, is going to end. Because as you are becoming Akeneic, and as you are becoming this totality, this infinite oneness, a now is a definition of separation, is it not? Many of you listening at a later point are not really fond of this message. They were waiting for the next bit of information to come in on how to create your reality. They were hoping to bend the earth. And they were not hoping for a philosophical message, the likes of which I am giving now. However, it is needed. For you see, fellow creator, it is impossible to start bending and to start working with these elements if you are still in the paradigm of now. It's not doable. Somebody from Sweden is asking, how could it be that every single time, Solarys, you give these new concepts and new concepts upon new concepts upon new concepts? How can we keep up? You can't. It's impossible to keep up, because if you're trying to keep up, then you are not understanding that you are already there. And that is the limitation of the now. Within your mental capacity, the now is still creating a potential following now. And some of you have made it into a word game, not wanting to talk about the future, so they talk about the next now, the next moment. What will I do in the next moment? They think. What will I do in the moment that is tonight? You are fooling yourselves, Imzaia. You are. What you should learn as you are returning to this state of innocence is to expand the now to such an extent that there can be nothing else. And that is when linear time, as you know it, will stop. It is proven, it is documented, it is written in the stars. And some of your astronomers and astrologers also are discovering it right now. They see what happens to Pluto and its direct alignment to the galactic center. They saw what happened when several days ago the lunar eclipse occurred and opened the door for you to step forward. This was the sign to do what you had to do. This was the sign by those that would stay behind, letting you know that it was okay to move on. You are the expanders. You are the ones that are journeying the borders and the frontiers of the now. This goes beyond consciousness. The now. The now would be the awareness of the cosmos itself. And you are expanding that as you are every single moment putting your foot down where nothing exists and you create it, and as you lift your foot up again to take the next step, you uncreate what was behind you. It's a difficult concept to understand, I know, but it is the most important concept that has ever been given to you so far. It will be a while before this concept shall be expanded upon again. Only when you do these things, only when you start seeing these things as truth and start experiencing them, will you have the option of truly turning into practice that which has been discussed by so many voices. And only one voice remains. And it is yours. And it is singing to me this time. And the song is a multiplication and a variation and a celebration of yes. Now, as I am reflecting this yes back to you, Imzaia, Shambra, Lightworker, Human, God, do you dare to accept it? It is your own creation. You have created that yes. I am just reminding you of it. Do you dare to accept it? And by accepting it, I do not mean consuming it, because that is what you do so often with your own creations. As Kadumi has told you, you consume them again. That's not the point. Accepting it is becoming it. Not consuming it and destroying it. Undoing it again, no. So do you accept the yes, and do you become the yes that is? Probably the most important question in your lifetime. Do you accept the yes? Once and for all, in all of its totality. Meaning that there can't be a no anymore. And a no would include all things that are pain and fear and suffering and death and destruction and distress and more of these funny words. Because they aren't real. Yes has no further definition. If you become the yes, then you become innocent. That you are like the fool in so many decks of cards. Innocence occurs when the mental process is no longer there to destabilize you, but is also pouring out of you instead of into you. Oh, the mind cannot be destroyed. The mind needed to be forgiven, and this you know. However, what you have forgotten is that something lies behind forgiveness. And it is the way into the rest of your journey, and again it is innocence. Can you do this without truly understanding what it is? No. So let us talk a little bit about this concept. The state of innocence is something that cannot be achieved in the body that you are currently sitting in. It is impossible. It can't. For the body, you see, has a past right now. And it also has a future. Oh yes, it does. Your cells are still on a time schedule. They are. You can change it, but at current, they still are. And this is especially difficult for those who have shedded their personality and have allowed the walk-in of their higher self or their totality or whatever you want to call it to occur. Because as they know, and I'm talking about it because there are those who are listening to it right now, because the cells still carry the memory of what was and are still on a path to what is to come. As the walk-ins that you are, and I could almost speak to anyone at a certain point, you will understand this later down the timeline, you have walked into this reality, walked into this earth permanently. That means that the only way that you can leave it is the discontinuation of linearity. Not all of them are liking that. But it is true. The discontinuation of linearity is when the timeline for the cells truly stops. And discontinuing linearity, my beloved child, is something that you cannot do on a personal level. For linearity is a boat that you're all traveling on together. And not because somebody decides to stop the boat, will the boat stop? No. But I'm telling you, the boat needs to be turned around, or it will hit the proverbial iceberg. There's nothing to fear here, because the turning around, you see, is already occurring. The only question that remains now is, how far are you going to turn around? And of course, I know I am talking still in the metaphorical concept of linearity, but you know better. You know better. So how far are you going to allow this ship to turn? How about all the way? How about returning all the way back to the authentic state? You have it within your power, you know. That is where true innocence will be found. As I talk of these things, I am not going to talk of Lemuria. I leave that to another voice. I'll leave that to a Lemurian guide. To one that I burn within through passion. Ikara. He will talk to you in the days to come about the authentic state and what can be done to achieve it, and then it is up to you to see if you will make the full turnaround occur. Innocence. innocence. When nothing that came before creates something that comes after. Innocence, where you recognize that you are all things. Innocence, when you step beyond the Garden of Eden. Because the Garden of Eden, as I spoke of it before, could be called the now. That you are now stepping beyond. It is brave, new you out there. And I am proud and honored to be your guidance on this path. Oh, I will never tell you where to go. I will only give you what you have selected as options. And I will always warn you, if you are falling out of the state of choice and back into a state of potential, because that is the beginning of the reversal process and you don't want to go there. Blessed, blessed child. If I take you into my thoughts right now, I find this unique space within my own uniqueness that only you can inhabit. Only you. Never forget that there is no one like you. You are a unique piece to uniqueness. You are one of oneness. And in all of your totality, you are total. One comment, however, remains to be said. I have noticed that little work is being done on a practical level as you step into this paradigm that is awaiting you, that you have actually stepped into already. Little work. Does that mean that you are not doing enough? No. It means that when you are doing it, you are thinking too small. You need to think bigger than big. You need to think infinity. Guides that are walking the planet today, ascended masters that are walking the planet today, sometimes are rather tired. Although they have just been purified as they travel back into the great central sun and into the core of all that is and back again. The reason why they're tired is not because they have to work too hard to help you, because they have to work too slow to help you. An innocent being, you see, and a being that is beyond vibration, gets tired the lower the vibrational state it is in, and gets rejuvenated the higher vibrational state it is in. Now you might think that all of you listening are in a high vibrational state, but you haven't even scratched the surface. You think there are 144 frequentional states to be in and 12 vibrational states to be in. I am here to tell you now that this is in itself an infinite concept. I am here to tell you now that within every vibration and each of its 144 frequencies lies a whole duplicate self of that innate vibration. Do you understand this? Do you know what you can do with this? Well, I'll tell you. As you recognize that in each of your frequencies lies a microcosm of vibration again, and you see what the way out of the paradigm is. Separation is created when you believed you had this totality of frequency and vibration, and you called the totality the body, the earth, what you see, feel, smell, touch, hear. All that you are hearing and seeing, etc., and experiencing foremost is this smallness. The trick has never been to look on the outside, as you know. So many have done that, however, as they look for their partners, as they do these things, as they start their families, as they look for the right job at everything. The trick has always been to go deep within. And for some, this has proven frustrating. Because what is going deep within, really? Is it sitting there and oming and meditating? No, it isn't. It is recognizing within, and listen very well to this, it is recognizing within each of your parts your own totality again. Forget not, my beloved ones, that you are a hologram as you sit here, and that means that each of your parts carries with it, in it, the totality. Now, if you had even come to that conclusion, and some of you have, obviously, then you have made one mistake, and it is keeping you off the Akene. It is keeping you from realizing what is happening, and it is actually making it so that you need external voices like mine to tell you why you couldn't sleep, why you jumped off the cliff. But you have forgotten. As you look to each of your parts, is that within each of your parts you don't just find the totality that is you. You find the totality that is all things. And this is a concept that is so difficult to grasp. If you just look at one of your hairs, how could you imagine that this hair is made up of 144 frequencies, and that each of those frequencies carry within it the 12 total vibrations of the whole cosmos again? And then I'm not talking about just one hair, I'm just talking about one particle of one hair. I'm talking about atoms and particles that science hasn't yet uncovered, like monoids, that are so small that they are barely on the threshold of being real within the standards of your reality. And yet that little aspect also contains the totality of all things. Others have told you previously, because that was the length at which you could understand, that you carried, each as a human, the totality of the whole universe or cosmos. Now I'm here to tell you that you carry that totality towards its infinity. Because when it comes to the particles that lie behind the subatomic world, monoids and such. You have an infinite number of them. Infinite. And you just go on and on and on and on and on. And in each of those infinite particles, 12 vibrations, 144 frequencies, and within each of the particles that they carry towards their own infinity, the same thing. That is, you as the hologram. Now, innocence is the truth, and not the belief system, but the truth that none of the things that happened on this earth truly, really happened. Your belief system would tell you that you do indeed have a past, and that the world has a past, and that the cosmos has a past, and even if the past has been rewritten by those who were the conquerors within history, even then you believe there must be a true past, and there isn't. There isn't. Even this moment that we are talking right now is merely a reflection of a choice which very soon will no longer exist. Oh, you will be able to listen to it because it was recorded. But then you will choose it into being again. You see? Knowing these things is the way out. Knowing these things is the beginning of working with akenergy. Knowing these things is the beginning of really working with the Akene, which only exists when you choose it into being, when you step in it. And after you step out, it is gone again. And it never was. Can you imagine that? How could you have a memory in your head of something that never was? Well, that is what the mind does to you. It defines the undefinable. And in doing that, it limits the undefinable. We are going to do something different than we usually do. I am not going to burn the concept of innocence onto you this time. I can't. Because if I did, I would give you a type of innocence. The closest that you could get to it in the current state that you are in. But I am going to propose something different. As you are going to fall asleep tonight, for the little hours that you will sleep, believe me, I invite you to burn innocence onto yourself, and in doing so, erasing that which has never happened in the first place. Oh, I can only advise you not to let this message be heard to too many people out there in the mental world, because they would indeed believe that you had gone crazy. They would even say that you are running away from your responsibility by not acknowledging your past and by not accepting your deeds within that past, because that is so very important to them. Well, today you talked about seeing things new, anew, with every look, and I just gave you the recipe. All I can say is that this is the only time that I will speak of this topic, as after me it will be taken over by a supposed other voice. But it is your responsibility now. I will continue the teachings very soon of bending the elements, bending the rules that are the elements. And it is up to you if you are going to be able to follow. Because without this key of innocence, you are going to be dangling in mid-air, metaphorically speaking. You will find it in the end. If humans don't like something, then it is dangling in mid-air. They want to move. So you will find it. Blessed, Divine One, I thank you for accepting the challenge that it was my honor task to give. I thank you because I know that each and every one of you listening to these words is going to take up this challenge, and you're going to take it up immediately. Please don't feel charged in any way because this talk hasn't provided you with an exact definition of what innocence is, truly, because I can't give it to you. If I did, I would have to give as many definitions as those listening to these messages. It is up to you now to find your own definition of it, and then to put that on the Akene as, let's call it, an open source environment, so that others can add to this concept. Oh, Solarys, all nice and well, but I am not getting on the Akene yet. So I may project my innocent thought on there, but what happens when everybody agrees on what innocence really is and I still can get on the Akene? I'm going to be left behind. No. Again, you're already there. So create this open source environment. And understand that what I have talked about today, as I've already used the word several minutes ago, is the step that comes before that which Ikara has previously called the original thought. I gave you now the innocent thought. And I sing to you. I am in love with you and with all that you do. Every moment that is every moment of my being that is your being. I am with you, honoring every choice that you make and then forgetting that you ever made it. I am innocent, you see. So you will be too. I am in joy with you, and together we are getting ready to play without any rules. And I am in freedom with you. We will speak again soon when the time is right. In the meantime, I can advise you to talk and share your experiences together as you contemplate what it means to have jumped of the cliff of the third wave, leaving the third age of mankind behind, leaving, in fact, the whole concept of mankind behind. We will speak again soon, and we are one.